Hello and welcome everybody to Quality Sewing and Vacuums Facebook Live for So Fun. It is October and we have Cindy and Gail with us today. They've prepared some amazing samples for you to see. My name is Andrea and I'm the So Fun manager, and I wanted to introduce them and I wanted to welcome you. Now, if you, just in case you didn't know, if you're new, we have 10 actual stores where you can see this in person. And it's so much fun, right, ladies? There's fun food and prizes, and the friendship is amazing. And it's fun to see the samples and touch them and feel them in person. So anyways, come to one of our stores. Online, you can go on and make your reservation. We wanted to also let you know that the items that we're going to be showing today are 20% off until November 2nd. So a week from today, there'll be 20% off. So hop online, shoot us a message down below, give us a like, tell us where you're from, because we will be doing a prize drawing at the very end for 2 prizes. Thank you for joining us, and I'm going to turn the time over to Gail and Cindy. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's wonderful to be here today with everybody. And I'm going to start in and talk about our first book. So we have a t-shirt book today. If you notice around the studio here, we have some t-shirt quilts. So if you've thought about making one of these and never had the courage to do it, or maybe you've done one and you want some ideas for another one, this is a book by Amelia Johansson, and this is called Patchwork T-Shirt Quilts. And she has wonderful instructions in here and ideas on how to use from 1 or 2 t-shirts and a pillow all the way up to 100 little onesie t-shirts to make a fun little quilt, right? Or anywhere in between. So you can make tote bags and quilts and wall hangings. So she talks about how to stabilize your t-shirts, and then some layout ideas, how to blend a couple of t-shirts into a block, maybe if they're not big enough. So lots and lots of fun ideas. So we have a few products to share to go along with that t-shirt quilt. And I'm going to start with those, and then we'll get into the samples. So we have printable fabric, and this is by June Taylor. This is 8.5 by 11 sheets of fabric that are prepared with a paper backing that you can run through your inkjet printer, and you can create images, photos, or other messages to add to the front of your quilts or to the back. You can make your labels out of that. Lots and lots of ideas. So maybe you have some of this at home, but maybe it's been in the drawer for a few years. So it might look like this. So this is still good, don't throw it away. This is great for those antique looking ones, or the sepia, kind of yellow print that you can do. It would make an amazing photo. But if you're going to do a fun, fresh project, then maybe you want to invest in some new white ones. So there's 10 sheets in a package. And once you've printed this on your printer, you are going to remove the paper, heat set it, and then make it into your project. We have some over here. There's some photos on this wall hanging back here. If you're going to make a t-shirt quilt, then you will probably want to interface, right? Interfacing those knits will make that, that's the press cloth. The interfacing, I'm sorry, I lost my little thing. Andrea, you took my package. Interfacing will, sorry, make that t-shirt not stretch any longer. So we have fusible interfacings. I thought I had a little package of that here somewhere with the orange t-shirt.
Right.
Okay, anyway, so it is a fusible interfacing, right? It's woven, and you're going to press it on the back of the shirt, and then that will take a stretchy t-shirt and make it not stretch any longer. So it's important to stabilize those shirts so that they act like regular fabric and they don't stretch any longer. Maybe I stashed it in here. All right, well, hey, the sewing fairies. Okay. And then once you have that stabilized, you're going to want to trim out your shirts, right? So I actually do that step before I add the interfacing because I need to only interface the parts that I want, right? I don't want to interface the entire t-shirt because that's just a waste, right? So when you're out looking for shirts, you have many options, right? I consider 3 options. You can raid somebody's closet, you can go to Goodwill, and you can make your own, right? If you have a scan and cut and some iron-on vinyl, then you can make your own t-shirt. So this one came from Goodwill, but I thought it was very, very appropriate. Unleash your potential. You can put that into just about anything. But when I'm planning on marking out that t-shirt, this transformation ruler is going to help greatly because I actually have a crosshair in the center of the ruler and some slots here that I can use for marking. They're at 10.5, 12.5, and 15.5 from the center, but I can use that X to mark the spot on the center of my ruler. And then I can use a marker. This is a Chocoliner chalk marker, and this has just a little wheel with some powdered chalk in there, and I can just run it through the slots and make my marks where I need to. So, and then it may not show on the camera, but I've got these little marks here. So I'm going to rough cut the front of my t-shirt with a pair of scissors and only interface that section. And then the back can be saved for maybe another project. Maybe you want to make that shirt of your own. So that is the transformation ruler, t-shirt transformation ruler. It works great for embroidery as well. All right, so let's look at some of the samples. So I'll start with this one. And this is a t-shirt quilt using some different t-shirts. So I chose the first option for this one and raided my mother's closet. So I did use permission, right? She did give me the t-shirts, but these are from Orcas Island and different businesses in and around the island. And then I took a map of the island that I printed on a decal type material, fused onto a t-shirt, and created my own shirt. And then added some commercially printed shirts, fabrics to go with it. So I've got several t-shirts there, and that makes just a fun keepsake. One note, if you're going to interface all of the shirts and you have other fabrics that go with it, I went ahead and interfaced my sashings and all of the other fabrics to go with it, so everything was the same weight. And then I have Minky on the back. So fun little throw. Now the third option was to make your own t-shirts, right? So I also used that decal material to print off a little robot to put on a black t-shirt. My grandson really likes Transformers. And then the yellow shirt is cut out with the scan and cut. And this uses that iron-on vinyl. Here is the photo paper, or the photo fabric, I mean. And then again, the photo fabric, the t-shirt made on the scan and cut, and of course I had to throw in some embroidery. So, fun little samples. Cindy, you want to share some information about yours?
So I did option 2, and that I went to thrift stores to get my Seahawks t-shirts. And so I did the same thing, that I used the ruler to cut it, and then I used the interfacing, and it was quite easy. I just did some stitch in the ditch type embroidery, and then I backed it with Seahawks fabric. So I have all my Seahawks fabric is gone. I have about that much left. And then I took the photo paper and I made a list see if I can get this going the other way. I did the roster from when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. So it has their positions, their names, positions, and their number. So this would be a great little quilt, or you could do a wall hanging or something like that for the Seahawks fan in you or in your family. And then I just took little charms, football charms, and put them in random places to give it a little bit more bling.
Wonderful. I thought that roster idea was wonderful. I'm thinking about a high school team, right? Or a college team. You can put the team members on there. And I have one more item. Whether you have a commercially done t-shirt or maybe one that you've made yourself, you don't know what went into making that t-shirt. So to protect your iron, we have the t-shirt press cloth. You should always use a press cloth, but especially when you're doing this kind of stuff to cover up that ink. It could be, you never know what, mystery materials. So this is a nice shaped and sized press cloth from June Taylor for all of that, all your pressing needs. Okay, so I think we're done with the book.
Okay.
All right,
So where are we going to next?
all of this.
Okay.
The
Okay.
Seattle stuff.
The Seattle bags. Okay.
Yep. So we're just going to bring this in here.
So we brought in this map bag pattern, and this is designed to go with this Seattle panel. And this is a panel of an actual map that was from 1925. And so there's no I-5 or I-90 or 520 in here. And it shows all the way up to Vancouver Island and such, and then down south a bit. And so this pattern will actually tells you where to cut for the bag if you want to make the bag. And with the bag, then we also brought in this splash denim. This stuff is wonderful. This is the last one we have. I mean, we can get more, but it's nice. This is actually a local company. We have more. Okay, we have more coming, Andrea just told me. It's a local company, and the other day in the Northgate store, the owner of Splash Fabrics came in and talked to me. So she was really excited that we had her fabric. And so this is nice and wipeable. It's also food safe. So I did the bag as it was written, except that I did add a recessed zipper. And I did that because I like to have it close up. There's enough fabric in the panel and in the splash to do all of this. It's all lined with the splash fabric to do the piping, the handles, and I still had some left over. There's also enough, and there's directions in this pattern to make a little coin purse that just has Seattle on it, and then the splash fabric. And they give all the directions for that. I'm going to knock that over again. So this was a really easy to do bag. It went together in one weekend. And then we brought in these little leather handmade leather labels, and I riveted mine on. So this was really fun to do. And we can just keep that like that. And there's so many things that you can do with this panel, though. You don't have to necessarily just make the bag. The bag was really fun, and it's a nice bag to do, but you can do a lot of other things with that panel. And I'm going to let Gail show what she did.
Okay. So the panel, you only need one panel to make that tote bag, but you can get 4 placemats out of one panel. So I took the panel.
Yeah, question.
Oh, okay.
Somebody asked, what is splash fabric?
Okay. So splash fabric is a laminate cotton, which means it has a coating on it. I wish you guys could feel this right through the TV, right? But it is super, super soft. It's washable. It is wipeable. It is waterproof.
And you sew on it just like
Yep.
any other fabric.
It sews beautifully just like any other fabric. And let me get this open. Then you can just wipe it down, right? It quilts, it does everything. It's super, super soft. And it could make anything where you want it to be easily cleaned. So there is enough in here. It's 68 or 60 inches wide, 58, something like that. One of those wide things. By a yard, we'll make a couple of aprons. It'll make some bags. Lots and lots of options there for laminate fabric, and it does come in a wide variety of colors. We're going to be carrying that, over the different sew funds. We'll bring in some different colors and feature that because we think it's really fun stuff. So back to the panel, there are 4 placemats that I can make out of one panel. I just took that and sliced it into 4 and quilted it in the embroidery, and then trimmed it out, made a binding, and made a placemat. And I did add a little pocket over here for my silverware and my napkin. And the pocket's made out of clear vinyl, so when the napkin and silverware are not in the pocket, you can still enjoy as much map as possible. So that was just created with an extra little piece of the backing fabric before I did the binding. So that's what I did with my panel. And did you want to, I can talk about my bag while I'm here.
Bag. Yeah.
So
Pattern one more time.
Yep. I'm going to just set it right here. It's kind of skinny. I don't know if it'll stay, but it is right there. Where do you want that? So once you have used your panel, you can use that tote bag pattern to use your own fabrics and make other bags, right? You can use heavy stabilizers to make a nice full-bodied bag, or this one uses very, very little interfacing. The t-shirt weight interfacing that we did in the program is what I used for the outside and nothing in the lining. So I've got a nice grocery bag that I can just fold up, but it still features, a panel, just a different one, the coordinating print, and then the piping. So fun little bag, still pockets on the inside. You want to continue with this while I set up for the piping?
What else do we have on that?
The quilting?
Oh, yeah. So Gail she quilted this. And what she used is the embroidery we brought in, which is Lake Life Quilting. And so she quilted this. It has 20 different designs, and they all have a single stitch or a triple stitch in the embroidery. And so to showcase that, we did up a little sample here, and this one is the single stitch, and this is the triple stitch. Now, this goes together really fast. The biggest of I did the biggest one, it took me 4 minutes on the triple stitch. And I slowed my machine down, and it's only one thread. So it's a monocolor, and you can use just one color. You can use a variegated. It's a great way to use up some of that. And so you can see here too, Gail just did this is what she did before as her quilting. So there's the front of the placemat, and here is the back. So it doesn't really show up a lot on the front, but it gives it a little texture.
Yeah, well, I want the map to show. So.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a nice one when you don't want the quilting to overshadow your pattern. And then she did another placemat here, and she brought this into her software and extended it out. So this was one hooping on
One hooping
on your machine.
17 files.
Well,
there's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Yep.
So nice and easy. And she just brought the back to the front for the binding. And this probably took her maybe half an hour.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. It's kind of goes in with a Northwest theme in that we have this Northwest city panel for the city of Seattle and outlying areas. We have lake life quilting, and then the splash fabric, the laminated cotton, is a local company as well.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. And
So to do the piping, we have a little sewing machine demo over here. So there is a ruler for piping, right? And there's also a foot, but there's a ruler for everything, right? And we have them all. So the ruler that I'm going to use today is called the Grooving Piping Trimming Tool, and it's grande version, right? So it's got a nice deep channel in here, and I'm going to show you in a minute what that's going to do for me. So piping or cording is going to be a cord or a material, but it's not very attractive as you see it, right? So we need to cover it in fabric. Now you can buy it pre-purchased, covered, but those are usually solid colors, and I wanted something, you know, a little bit more colorful, right? I've got this pretty fussel fern green that I'm going to cover. So to make this step just a little bit easier on me, I'm going to use a foot, and Brother calls this foot a double welt foot. So piping, cording, and welt are very, very similar. I've lost the package now. But the ruler, I'm sorry, the foot itself.
actually, I call it the piping foot.
Okay, the piping foot. Each brand has a little bit different name for it. Brother calls this one the piping foot, and it's SA 192. So if you like this technique, you can always go find the foot if you have a Brother. And what this has is a double tunnel underneath the foot. So I'm not sure where yeah, so there's a double tunnel underneath this foot, and that's going to accommodate that piping or cording. So I'm going to snap that on the machine here. And I've also adapted this just a little bit. I've got a straight stitch on here, but I've got a needle position that I have moved over towards the inside of my machine just a little bit, so that when I do my stitching, it's not super tight up next to that piping. It's kind of in basting mode, right? So it's living, the stitch is just a little bit over to the right. So in this particular machine, it's set at a 5.0. It's a 7mm machine, so center position would be 3.5. So it is, you know, moved over just a little bit. And we have basted together our cording. Now I need to get rid of some of this extra over here because I want to have a nice, consistent, and accurate seam allowance. So that's where the ruler comes in. So I'm going to use the tunnels in the ruler to support that cording. Now I can use this side of the ruler and get a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, or I can use this side of the ruler and get a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I can use it either way. I'm going to go 1/4 inch today. So the cording lives, or piping just lives right down that little ridge. And I will use my little rotary cutter. Words left me. And then cut that. So now I'm going to sandwich it in between two pieces of fabric. So the first thing I'm going to do is again baste it to one side. That way I'm not kind of sewing blind. I don't want to do both of them at the same time. So I'm still basting. I'm still going to leave my needle position in the same place. And I'm going to sew that right there. And then the last step is to go ahead and put that needle position back to center. And that's going to snug my last stitch right up next to that cording. And it's also going to keep those basting stitches off in the seam allowance where they belong. So I will sandwich my second piece over the top of that. Line up my raw edges and sew one more time. Now, just because I have one of these machines where I can move that needle, there we go, not a single basting stitch in sight. I'm going to use that to my advantage, and I'm going to go one more time, and I'm going to sew down here, move that needle over again. Let's give it another little notch. I'm at 5.5 now, and I'm going to top stitch. So with my needle way over here, I have a line of stitching right down here. It's all nice and straight because the cording did all the steering. And I have fastened down all of those extra pieces. And then I have one last little trick. So when I'm going to use two of pieces side by side, right? I've got a bag, I've got to go all the way around and put a seam in here. I'm probably going to have some bulk in here, right? And I don't want a piece of cording to line up or piping to line up with another one because I've got extra in there. So I'm going to get in here with a little hemostat or a pair of tweezers or something, and I'm going to pull out just enough to find my seam allowance worth, trim it off, and when I suck it back inside, now my piping ends right there. So when I sew two pieces of that together, they butt up nice next to each other, and I don't have bulk in my intersection in my seam. So makes things nice and flat. All right.
Somebody wanted to see the city bag pattern. We'll put that back up close. And then, was it the panel that they wanted to see? And so the panel. So the panel's nice. It goes Puget Sound to Glacier Peak, Monte Cristo, Mount Baker, Inside Passage to Alaska. Okay. Great.
Wonderful.
Yeah. You want to talk while we're thinking about it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So we brought in these really cute little bracelets.
Yeah.
And we have a lilac and a teal, and they're leather, and they're a tape measure.
Right, the wrist ruler. So it's a 16-inch. It has inches and millimeters. So
You always have one available. Wear it. You go to the fabric store. You go to the hardware store.
you go anywhere.
Anywhere. And they come in this great little tin that you can, and it makes great presents. So you have your sewing buddy. It's a fantastic thing to give to your sewing buddy, maybe in their Christmas stocking or a gift exchange or a housewarming gift, something like that.
Anything. Yeah. Okay. Are we ready to
Sure. What were we?
progress? These Annie's bags.
These Annie bags.
Oh, yeah. So these are patterns from a company called By Annie's. And By Annie's is just, they do wonderful, wonderful bags. They have so many different patterns. But today we have two, and they work together, right? They're individual patterns, but they do, they do work together. I need elbow room.
I told you.
All right, so the patterns are running with scissors. Not sure. This way and down. Here we go. Not sure what I'm looking at. But, running with scissors is the accessory tool case. And take a stand is the bag. And the bag comes in 2 sizes. So we've got one here and we've got one back here. So small and large. Inside her patterns, she has an activation code for her videos. So you can go watch those. And she has a cut list. And this is a photocopy. I always go in and I photocopy that cut list because I want to make the bag more than once, right? And I don't want to cut up my original. So these are little tags that you can cut out and mark everything that you cut. Your outside fabrics, your inside fabrics, even your interfacings, your fold over elastic, your mesh, everything you mark. So you're very organized when it comes to going through the steps in the pattern. So the tool case has pockets everywhere, right? We have pockets on the outside. We have pockets on the inside. We have mesh pockets and vinyl pockets and fabric pockets and even little elastic pieces. So these can accommodate all of your sewing tools. Well, maybe just the ones you want to take with you. They can do cosmetics or jewelry or art supplies or anything that you want to put in here. Even a tablet would fit in here. And there are the zipper pockets and the type that you just slide something in. So wonderful opportunity to put all of those tools in there. And then once the tools are inside your tool case, you can use the take a stand to support that, like an easel that is going to let you use those tools in an efficient way at your sewing machine or at your desk. So lots and lots of options. Now inside you have instructions for an optional cutting mat. I'm sorry, pressing mat. Can't cut it. But you could also use this to keep the tools that fit on this side from playing with the tools on that side, right? You got to keep them separated so that they don't get in trouble. So,
And you don't lose it then.
there you go. And then the take a stand bag has pockets on the outside and pockets on the inside. I got all sorts of things in here. And it has a nice wide opening. I was very impressed with the fact that you can open this all the way and really, really get in there. So we have mesh pockets on the inside with the fold over elastic. And here's where I used my little labels that say handmade on them. We've got webbing for a strap, which requires hardware. So we've got it all, right? We have the hardware that comes in gunmetal, rose gold, so pretty, and antique gold. We have the mesh. No, there's more stuff in here. So the big one would support that tool case as well. But we have the mesh and the elastic in 4 pretty colors. We have parrot blue, apple green, lipstick pink, and Tahiti purple. We have the fold over elastic, again, same colors. There's 2 yards in a package of the fold over elastic. And this stuff just folds really nice right in half. Makes it easy to sew to the top edge of either the mesh or to fabric or even the neckline on a t-shirt or anything that you might need a little bit of stretch. And a fun little finish, right? There's that leather label. There's my interfacing. I knew it was here somewhere. This is for the t-shirts, by the way. Okay. Sorry, Andrea. Okay, and then here's the mesh with the elastic on top. That makes a nice stretchy pocket. And then when you're going to add a zipper to it, you're going to put a binding on it to lock in that stretch because the zipper doesn't stretch either. So fun, fun stuff.
What kind of closures on the back?
Zipper closure on this bag Yep, and actually on this bag, so we have a zipper that goes all the way from one side to the other. Got that little mat in there. So when it's closed, it looks like that. And the zipper goes all the way out so that you can open it wide. There's all those elastics. Same fun colors. And plenty of space for a very small sewing machine, an iron, maybe an overnight bag, or projects, right? You can use a plain webbing. You can cover your webbing to match your fabric, or you can use one of these really, really bright, fun Tula pink webbings. And we have that in the turquoise and mint, or the tangerine and pink. So there's 2 yards of that in there as well, and that's going to make you a nice, really long strap. So in those hardware kits are enough pieces to make this bag, plus a couple of little magnetic snaps that were extra. So you've got the clips, you've got the D-rings, you've got the slider, and they're all the right size, and they're all the same color. So that's amazing to get it all in one package. Cindy, did you have comments?
So I've never made a Tula pink pattern before.
Annie's?
I mean, Annie's.
Tula pink fabric.
Is fabric.
Yeah.
I've never made it by Annie's. I've looked at them and never made them. And so I was really glad. And I found that, and I've made lots and lots of bags over the years, probably hundreds of bags. And I thought, well, I don't need to watch the videos. I'd go and watch the videos. They were wonderful. She doesn't do a step-by-step video. It's the hard parts, the ones that you might have a little bit of trouble understanding from the printed word. And so you can have the printed there and you have her doing it. And one thing I learned, which I'd never done, is every time I've done binding, you cut it, you fold it, and then you press it. And then you sew it on one side and flip it over. And she says, don't press it.
Right.
Let it roll. And especially if it's on the bias, because once you've sewn it, it's kind of, you've told it, I need you this way, and it can't do what it needs to do.
Right.
And I did the entire bag and this without ripping out my binding.
Nice.
which was probably a first.
Always a bonus. Right?
Yes. So watch the videos. They're really informational. And when you're going through this heavy interfacing like the soft and stable, I highly suggest you use a bigger needle.
Yes.
I was using a 90 universal and I was getting skipped stitches. So I went up to 110 titanium because that's what I had. And from then on, I had no skip stitches. So anytime that you're having problems with your stitches skipping, go up a needle.
Yep. Yep.
But this was really fun, and for a first time by Annie's pattern, I was really happy with it.
Right. I have one quick little tip on putting on that binding. And I'm going to finish this off at the sewing machine. So when you do a bag like the Take a Stand bag, you have a piece that's going to be your front, your bottom, and your back, right? You create this flat, and you're going to add an end cap, and then it's going to give it body, right? It's going to make a square. So rather than taking this piece and sewing it to this piece first, go ahead and put the binding onto the flat piece, right? It makes it a lot easier to sew that on when it's nice and flat. And it just kind of stays there, tucked out of the way. Make sure that it's over here. So this is a fold over piece of fabric, right? It's on the bias. Fold it in half, and like she said, don't press it. But sew that onto the flat piece. And then when you create the bag, right, you're going to go here. I'm going to start here and continue. Let's find my stitch. Down a little bit. As I go around the corner, it's going to create the end of my bag. But once I've made this into a bag, I've got a curved situation, right? So if I put my binding in when it's flat, it's going to go together a lot easier. All right, and then the binding is already living there, right? So I am ready to just fold it over and finish off fastening that down. I can put that back through my sewing machine, or I can hand tack it, and it just skips that step where I have to add binding to a corner. So makes it a lot nicer. Okay, I had a lot of fun doing Annie's. I always do.
Like I said, it was my first one, and
yeah.
I was really impressed with the directions and the videos and this cutting sheet.
Yeah, yeah.
The labels, that was just perfect.
Yeah. All right.
End of the jacket.
So, go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to move on to,
It's behind there.
it's behind here, to our garment pattern this time, which is
This out of the way.
by Dana Marie. And Dana Marie used to be in Arlington. I think she's in Idaho. So but she's still fairly local. And this is up a notch. And it has decorative notch accents highlighted with princess seam jacket with an asymmetrical front. And then she gives, on the website, you can download these instructions. And these are for a strippy crazy piecing and to take it from a jacket to a coat. So you can lengthen it. So I made mine. And over here? I made mine by her, completely by the pattern instructions, and I did the back in just a purple. And then, so there's several ways that you can finish the seams. And she says you can serge them, you can put in a lining. And I've put in a lining before. I thought, well, I'm going to try something else. And I decided to do a Hong Kong finish. A lining would have taken me about a third of the time. Because you have to cut all this on bias. This is cotton batiste. You cut it on bias and then sew it on. I'm really glad I did it though. And it has, this is probably one of the best parts, it has pockets. Every woman needs pockets. I don't like that they don't do pockets. So this was really easy, but I did do one thing backwards in that I looked at the pattern and she had the right here and the left here. And I was thinking I was looking at the back of it and I was looking at the front of it instead, even when I put it in my dress form. And instead of, on most women's jackets, you go right over left. If I put the button in buttonhole, it would be left over right. But nobody's ever going to know, except for all you ladies, because I've told you. So really easy. Her instructions were really nice. And then she sent us some samples. And this is always wonderful when the designer sends samples. So this is the one that's on the cover, I believe, of this. And this is the strippy crazy piecing. And if you've ever done a Dana Marie pattern, you know, she's very artistic. And so she did this one. So she did the piecing. And here's the back. And then this is just a lightweight home deck material that she used. And she fully lined hers in this nice pink. So she did this one in a denim. And she, for the seams, she serged the seams. And then to keep them down, she did a double needle stitching so it looks like the flat felled seams you have on jeans anyway. So this was really nice. I was going to mention, mine is a large, and it fit, they're pretty true to size on her sizing. It fits me well, but I had to do no alterations on it. This one, if we can get close up, this looks like leather, but it's not. If you can see close up, it's the print of the cotton fabric. And then this is a panel. And on the inside here, she used, it looks like an organza to line it. And then her last one is, again, she did denim, and I'm going to bring this out front here so you can see, get out from behind the table. So I did the jacket length, and it comes about mid-thigh on me. On this one, it comes about comes just about my knee. So here she took it from a jacket to a coat, and she did a mock Hong Kong finish. So she put the two sides together, the raw edges, and sewed it down. So this was really nice, very simple. She did nothing else except that she made this longer.
And pockets.
Pockets.
On all of them. I
Pockets
love
are
pockets.
Pockets are awesome. So we're really thanking Dana Marie. And she usually has a booth at the Puyallup, the quilt show, that's the quilt Rusty Barn, it used to be called, that'll be in Puyallup the 16th, yes, 16th, 17th, and 18th of November in Puyallup, and then she usually has one in at Sew Expo.
Beautiful jackets. I love them. So the picture that you see here is something that's available on her website.
Yeah.
They're a little upgrade that she has to her pattern. So those are free. You can go download the information to do that. Strip piecing option or the lengthening of the pattern option. So you can modify the pattern and get more out of it. Now this is a multi-size. So we've
Yes.
got extra small all the way up
To
4X, I
4X,
believe.
I think, yes.
So lots of options there.
Like I said, this is a large, and it fits me, I think,
Very well.
very well. I think if I went to an extra large, it would be too big, but I have lots of room to move.
Yeah, very comfortable. Okay, and then let's talk about our Christmas cheer pattern.
Okay. So Christmas cheer. We brought in this Christmas cheer pattern. And this is a pattern that has a little bit of everything. It has traditional block making, it has foundation paper piecing, and it has applique, and it has insert. So this was a lot of fun. And I did, using the colors that was recommended. We'll get that out. And I just had it really simple. Naomi Human did my quilting, and she backed it with Minky, as she
love the
backs
Minky.
everything I do too. And I don't think if I had done this again, I wouldn't put any batting in it. I think the Minky would have added enough. But you can see that these are not traditional blocks. They don't go together in rows and in columns. It's in groups. And then I just wanted to add a little bling to it. So I just put some colored white and blue snowflakes I found in different sizes. And then I thought this little trim down here in the house made it look like Christmas lights.
Wonderful.
And my binding, I like striped binding, but to get it to stripe on the bias like this, you have to cut it on the bias. I actually found material that was printed that way. So this was it was different. It was a lot challenge. but it was a lot of fun. And once it came together, and then you want to talk about your pillow?
Yeah. So I took a few of the blocks from that pattern and put them together into a bench pillow. And I thought that they were a lot of fun. I did a paper piecing with the star and the bows. And then this was just an applique, some ribbon buttons, added the piping, and of course, zipper by the yard. So like I removed the extra bulk in the seam allowances on my piping here and here, I also use a little fabric tab at the end of my zippers so that I don't have zipper teeth ending up in my side seams on my pillows, so they don't have that funny little curve to them, right? I don't have that extra bulk
When you
in
grab
the
it, you don't.
edges. Yeah, so I have only fabric in my side seams, so that makes it nice. And this one I used some of that soft and stable type interfacing behind it to make it a nice, soft, cozy pillow. And when I get home, I'll stuff them a little bit thicker.
But I like the way what you used to stuff it.
Yeah, so this was just a travel stuffing. And this allows me to get from place to place, you know, and stuff it into a tote. But when you're in stuck, you know, it's just a little wad of batting. So, hey, it's soft and fuzzy, right?
So there's two types of paper piecing. There's English paper piecing, and then there's foundation paper piecing. English paper piecing is usually done by hand, and I know there's people that love to do hand sewing. I just try not to. And then there's foundation paper piecing. So for the foundation paper piecing, we brought in this Simple Foundations vellum paper. And the reason you want to use vellum paper for paper piecing is that it tears away so nice. You can see through it, and you don't have little bits of paper that you have to pull out of the seam. So I'm going to show you really quick on how to get these stars. So all the stars, the ones she did here, were done with paper piecing, foundation. So put it down here.
Might be the top one. Oh.
No, I put it down here. So the pattern has the pieces you need, and you just photocopy it with your photocopier from home. And you get two pieces, and then you can cut out one each. So I have just that little bit I'm going to work with. So I'm going to come to the machine. And the interesting thing with paper piecing is that you put your material on the back, and then you flip it over to sew. So I'm going to take this first one, I'm going to put it on the B. So they'll always be marked no matter what pattern. It'll be like B, B2, B3, or 1, 2, 3. So I want to completely cover that. And you can put a pin in there if you like. And then you take your second piece and you put it over. So you want to make sure your B1, if you look at here, it's covering all the B lines. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put it, I want it so it's like covers that whole B, but I'm going to turn it right sides together and make sure that I'm over all of the seam allowance. So I have to go like that. And you want to make sure that you give at least 1/4 of an inch because this is going to be your sewing line. Then, so when you flip it over, and you're going to take your stitch length down to like 1.0. And so I've got right sides together of my material on the wrong side of the paper piecing. And I'm going to put this down. Oh, this doesn't have. And it's going to go kind of slow because you're at a 1.0. And this is a great way to use scraps of fabric just when you first start, try not to make your pieces too small because it's easy to make them too small. So then when I turn this over, if I look, now normally it would go all the way, but I'm covered. So I'm going to leave B2 out here. I'm going to put B3, and I'm going to make sure that it goes over those lines between all of those. And you can actually, a lot of times I go ahead and I will do my seam allowances right away. I'll cut them off so I can see. Or just kind of a rough cut there. I'm going to line this one up. I'm going to put it so it lines over that B3, between B3 and B1. And it's going to go over on the B2 as well. Flip it over. Now this is something that you're going to want to practice. If you haven't done paper piecing before, print out some pieces, some of them on the vellum paper, and practice it because it does take a little practice. Like everything we do, we need to practice it if we haven't done it like recently. Yes. Yes, you can. And I will use glue sometimes. I'll use a pin or I will use a glue stick. Good question. When I turn this over, I'm going to have a perfect point. And on this one, you're going to do 5 of those because you're going to make the star. When I tear this off, there is not one piece of paper left in there that I have to use tweezers to get out. So there's my perfect point for all the stars that were done. You can't see my stars, but on the Gail's pillow, you can see the star.
Yeah.
So here's.
So
Okay. We have anything else? Do we?
I don't think so. Are there any other questions from the crowd? All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. We have a couple of prizes. Thank you for your comments and your shares and your likes and all the social media stuff. So,
Okay.
what we got here?
I want this. This is a pattern by from Atkinson Designs called Urban Cabin. And it goes from a kid size to a king size pattern. And this is going to, we have no drum roll.
We don't.
Tamara Ketchel. So Tamara, if you can leave, how do you want them to?
Some of these ladies are from out of town,
Right.
out of state. So if they could message me their phone number,
Or you can send it to Carrie.
email with their address,
Yes.
we will send
No,
it to them.
oh, no, okay. Okay, well, so email Andrea at,
Andrea@qualitysewing.com.
okay, and we will arrange for this to get to you.
All right. And we also have Penny Frank. Penny Yank? I'm not sure. Frank. And congratulations, you've won a package of fabric, right? These are fall fabrics. So again, just message and leave your phone number, contact information, or what store you'd like to pick up at, and we will get this to you as well. So wonderful.
Thank you so much for
Yes.
coming and joining us this morning.
All right, and have a wonderful fall, and we'll see you next time.